Hi everyone, and welcome to Crafting with Marilyn and Thursday, Take 5. Let's talk about embossing folders. Have you ever thought about inking your embossing folders and then embossing with them? Let me give you a few examples. Using the Evergreen Forest embossing folder, here are two examples. You do this with sponging technique. Now you can do it with either the sponge roller or a piece of the Stampin' sponge. I like both of them. This is a much slower process, but it gives you a lighter look like this. Sponging with a piece of the sponge, the Stampin' sponge, gives you a little bit heavier coverage. Now let me show you how I used this in this card. Now I know you're familiar with the fact that embossing folders have two sides, a raised side or an embossed side, and a depressed side or a debossed side. You can actually ink either side, and that's what I did in this case. You'll see that it's debossed, and the green is on mostly the trees, but then I did put a little bit of shading up in the sky area. And here's another example of how I used the embossing folder with the green. Of course, this works with any embossing folder, even these smaller ones. And let me give you a couple examples of what I did with these smaller ones. On this one, I was looking for an all-over design. So this is real red, but I've stamped off a couple of times. Sometimes I stamped off once, sometimes I stamped off twice, and that gave a bit of a shading to this, which I think looks lovely. You can also just highlight when you have an embossing folder like this. I'm not sure how well you can see that. Let me try it this way, where you only have partial embossing on it. Then you can do a sort of shaded and highlighting look. And this is what I did with this one. This one was using garden green. So let me demonstrate exactly how I go about doing this, both with a larger one and then one again with the smaller one. One using the roller, the other using the sponge technique. Now it's a bit slower process using the roller because it doesn't pick up quite as much ink. But this also gives you the ability to shade a little bit more and to maybe have a lighter look to your embossing folder or to the embossed cardstock that you're going to have. So I start by coming up here like this and just rolling it on. Now you notice I wasn't going back and forth like this. I was actually rolling all the way across. And the reason I'm doing this is because if you just go like this, it's only going to end up in one spot. Can you see where it's heavier there? So if you keep going in one direction, then you'll get a more even coating. Now you'll notice it's picking up a little bit more ink this time. That is because I am pressing harder. Now you don't want to press too hard, but by pressing harder, I'm going to get a little bit more on here. Now, if you're wondering about inking these and what's going to happen, even using the real red, it did not stain the embossing folders. I wiped them off first with a microfiber, and then I followed it up with a baby wipe. And you can see that my embossing folders are fine. Now on an embossing folder like this, my preference is to make the color a little bit heavier on the top and to kind of fade it as it goes down to the bottom. So you'll notice that I've added a lot more color up here than I have down here. Okay, I think I have about as much ink on here as I would like. Now let's emboss it. So I'm going to place the cardstock down. Now you want to place it down and you want to decide how much sky you want and how much of the trees you want. The other thing you could do, this is a 6x6, you could actually cut the paper the whole size, and then you can always trim it down to whatever you want. And that way, if one piece, and I have done this on some of mine, if one piece looks better than the other, like for instance, I think on this one, I like this side better than I like this side. So I may cut this down here and just use this piece. Each one comes out differently. So you want to close it and be careful and lift it up and kind of hold it with your thumb and, between your thumb and your fingers so that it doesn't slide around, because once this closes, ink is already being transferred to your cardstock. Now this is a 3D folder. So according to our directions here, we know that with the 3D embossing folders, you want to use plate 1, which is this one. Is it in my camera screen here? Yes, plate 1. And then you want to follow it with plate 4. And again, it's wonderful the way all of these are marked. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, I like this guy very much. I like it's got, now you'll see the sponging also adds some texture to this as well. And I think that's a really nice look. So now for the sponging technique, I'm going to take a piece of sponge and I like to add a little binder clip to the end. Just pinch that on there like that. And that gives you a nice little handle and helps you control things a little bit more. Let's open this up. And again, I'm going to do the depressed side over here, which is always on the front. And you can tell the front from the back because the front always has the Stampin' Up logo. So this one I'm going to sponge on. And again, I may just tap it off just a little bit so that I can fade this in and out and not have it be too strong. Again, this is going to be more of a shading look. And this sponge will also add a little bit of texture as well. And just keep going down here. We'll do the bottom. And if you get a blob like that, because I forgot to stamp off, then you can just kind of rub it. Again, you don't want to do it too hard and fill it in too much if you're looking for a shaded look. Okay, let me emboss this and see how it comes out. Now this is a regular thickness of this embossing folder. So in this case, again, according to the directions that are right there, we're going to use a clear plate 3. We're going to use the base 1, the clear plate 3, and then another clear plate on top of that. Okay, I'll be right back. So here you can see that you not only can use Whisper White or Very Vanilla or a light one, but you can also use a sort of tone on tone. So in this case, I use the Garden Green paper or cardstock along with the Garden Green inking. And here's the difference between the two. And again, this is one that I did the whole thing and I pounced off a little bit on the side. And so this gave you an almost pink look. It's real red, but it almost gave you a pink look. And to clean it off, as I mentioned, I just used a microfiber cloth and a baby wipe. So let me grab my microfiber cloth. Okay, it doesn't look too pretty, but it does the trick. And I just throw these in the wash with my regular towels. And they come out pretty clean. This one's about ready for a swim in the washing machine. But I just kind of do that. And then I find the baby wipe kind of gets into the crevices a little bit more. Just wipe that off. You can see there's still more coming off. So I just kind of keep wiping it until I don't get any more color. And we're just about there. I'll do it one more time. And we're done. And you can see, let me put my hand behind it, you can see that the color isn't there anymore. Oops, except for the spot that I missed on the back. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that there's no color. Thank you for joining me for the latest Thursday Take 5. I hope you'll take a moment or two to try inking your own embossing folders and see what results you get. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, all products used are listed in the description below. Bye-bye.